The Falcons once again made headlines for what some would consider the wrong. I mean, they've been the media punching bag, and I think often some of it is their fault. But I think, when we look at some of the things they were punching bags for,
a bully picks on a weak kid because it's an easy target. The Falcons are an easy target.
A lot of these things, I mean, right now, you got to like what Raheem Morris has brought. I know he hasn't coached a game, but they chose him over Bill Belichick, and he's brought a lot of guys into the building that give you that confidence that we now have, right? So that kind of looks like a better deal. Michael Penix, that's still up in the air. But now Michael Penix not playing in the preseason after just making 16 throws. I think we're both on the same page here. It just doesn't make a ton of sense. Now, I know you're I'll let you go because you're a lot more passionate about this. What did you think about Raheem Morris's decision?
It's an idiotic. And you know what? I think, you're right. Raheem Morris has done way more good since arriving in Atlanta than bad. And I still love Raheem Morris thus far. He hasn't coached a game like you mentioned. I still believe he can get the Falcons to the top of the mountain. Whether we can get over that mountain, we'll see. But I do think with this team as currently constructed, we have a damn good chance in a pretty wide open NFC. With that being said, again, Jesus Christ himself, Alex Anthopoulos, all of our gods in Atlanta aren't infallible. Like, they can be judged. And he already messed up when he quickly reverted when earlier in the offseason he said Michael Penix and Taylor Heinicke will be splitting second string reps, and then immediately went away from that because, one, whether it was the backlash, somebody in the building, whatever it might have been, he realized, it's probably not smart because, one, it doesn't matter what Taylor Heinicke does or doesn't do in Atlanta. His future is not here. Michael Penix needs every single rep, no matter what. He's not Tom Brady, who can just kind of have these veteran rest days. And he quickly, that changed immediately. Not playing Michael Penix in the preseason makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. So you have a couple of guys in Braylon Trice and DeMarco Helms go down with injury. Injuries happen. This is football. Limiting the exposure for a guy who is a backup quarterback doesn't make any sense at all. Limiting the exposure for an 11-year veteran coming off the first season-ending injury of his career in Kirk Cousins, who is your starter, makes all the sense in the world. We're talking about Michael Penix, who threw 16 passes in a preseason game and has had a dozen NFL practices and a couple of joint practices. You've seen all you need to see. If that's the case, why is Kirk Cousins still here? The fact is you have no real reason not to play Michael Penix other than that you're scared of injury and you probably don't value a preseason game quite like, me or these other people are criticizing you do. And I think, it's a huge mistake. Reps are valuable. If he's going to get injured in a preseason game, then he was probably going to get injured either way. I don't understand. The thought process is what I'm questioning most of all.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, we're talking about being scared for your backup quarterback to get injured. Like, if everything goes correct and Kirk Cousins stays healthy, this guy's not even going to be on the field. And we're talking about injury risk that may be slightly higher in a preseason game than it is in practice. It's not that much higher, especially when we're talking about major injuries that are mostly like non-contact injuries.
100%.
Like it's just there's not a lot of thought process. And you're telling me all you needed to see was 9 for 16 for 104 yards. Like Taylor Heinicke, who, by all accounts, if you watch that game against the Ravens, looked absolutely terrible. You know what he was? He was 8 for 16 for 114 yards. He literally had the same stat line as Michael Penix, and that's all you needed to see. Raheem Morris saw what we saw from Taylor Heinicke on Saturday, and that was all he needed to see from Michael Penix. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. Do I think in the grand scheme of things it's going to matter? Because hopefully we don't see Michael Penix for the entire season, and he's just out there getting reps, and we see him a lot next preseason. Hopefully we see him a lot next preseason, and he's in the conversation for being the starting quarterback because things turned out well. I don't think it's going to be a huge thing, but it could be a big thing this year. If Kirk Cousins goes down, and maybe not it's a significant injury, but we need Michael Penix to win us 2 or 3 games, and he comes out and he looks rusty, like, hey, maybe he needed a few extra reps in the preseason. We're going to come back and look at this and be like, why the hell did he not play in the preseason? Because we were scared of our backup quarterback getting injured. Like, that's where like the thought process doesn't mean. I understand you want to protect these guys, and Michael Penix has a lengthy injury history from his past and his collegiate days. But in the same breath, this is football. This is a sport. This is a contact sport. Guys are going to get injured in practice. Guys are going to get injured walking to the field. Like there's no rhyme or reason to why or when guys usually get injured. And taking that at risk of potential development when he could end up having to play this season, that's where it doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, development is not linear, and one data point is not equal to another data point. Where a live preseason game where you got real bullets flying at you versus a controlled environment and joint practices, though valuable, are not close. And my biggest gripe, two things about what you just said. My biggest gripe is the process. I already mentioned the second team reps splitting between Heineke and Penix. He rectified that, and Penix got all of them. But this is another questionable decision in the quarterback handling of the Atlanta Falcons, and this is not going away. They invited this controversy, this conversation into the building, into the fold when they did this. They did this. I didn't tell them to go sign Kirk Cousins and then draft the most NFL-ready quarterback other than Caleb Williams in the class. I didn't make them do that. They did that. They're inviting these questions, these concerns, these conversations. And I could make an argument. It made way more sense not to play Taylor Heineke in the preseason than Michael Penix. I'm being a little bit funny, but kind of not, because Taylor Heineke is a proven commodity. He's a good backup. He's a bad starter, and you're risking him getting injured in the preseason, even though I think he's still getting traded before the start of the season. I hope. So in reality, he's the asset you should be protecting. So, yeah, it's not valuable at all, but it's still a sixth-round pick that you're just leaving out there. Again, I'm trying to be serious and funny, but I'm dead serious about, me questioning what they're doing with Penix. Because, again, if you think that he's ready or you saw all you needed to see, which would entail be like, he's kind of ready, I guess. That's what I would assume. Then why the hell is Kirk Cousins here? Like, if Michael Penix is here, we could have a whole defense full of all pros because we got a quarterback on a rookie contract. That's what's so valuable about it. So sorry for questioning this stuff. And I wish somebody in Atlanta media would kind of push back and be like, hey, this doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, I mean, I just want
more answers other than you saying, oh, well, we saw what we needed to see.
Yeah. I mean, it's clear.
What does that mean?
I think overall, the overarching theme of this entire preseason that Raheem Morris doesn't put a lot of value in. I mean, we didn't see any starters really. We haven't seen any starters, period. Like,
or even fringe starters.
Yeah, the starters are not playing. Like, guys like that, you're like, oh yeah, he's on the roster. If you're on the roster, like, he's basically treating this as an open tryout for the guys that are like third stringers. And
he's having open tryouts for like 6 spots.
Yeah, for like the 53-man roster.
Yeah.
I mean, frankly, pretty much nobody has gotten much run that's worth a damn in the preseason. So I think that's really the overarching thing. And if you're not going to play any starters, I understand, or even backups, really, I kind of get why Penix isn't out there. But that's really all you can say. I wish we could have seen him get the reps. I think it's more for me. I want to see it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm not going to criticize it until Michael Penix goes out there and sucks on Sundays when we need him. And you're like, oh, damn, maybe he could have used those reps.
I'm just criticizing the process because eventually the process is, if the results aren't working, but your process is thorough and it's good, then I can live with it. But if you have a bad process and things just work out for you, that's not good because it's eventually not going to work out. It's like a golf swing. It's like you could hit 10 good golf swings and have 9 bad results, or like 10 bad swings and 9 good results. What do you do if you spread that sample size over 100? It's going to start working out because your process is better. And that's just what I'm saying. Is like, this is going to catch up with the Falcons eventually.
Hey, as I always say, swing your swing. Raheem Morris and the Falcons are
swinging their swing.
They're swinging their swing. We'll see if it works. We'll see if it doesn't. To this point, though, I think
it's worked.
I think we're all pleased with where the Atlanta Falcons are after where we began this offseason.